And I questioned God a lot. And I was like, why did this happen? Like, what does this mean? One of my friends, he lost his battle to his mental health journey. And after he passed away and I looked at my friend group and saw that we were all struggling pretty badly, it was like in my heart that I had to do something about it. After wrestling with like these really hard questions, it dawned on me that I've always viewed our mental struggles as a storm. I think like my anxiety and like depression and everything is just like the rain pouring outside, and I've always viewed God as kind of like the umbrella for that. You're still gonna get a little wet, it's still gonna affect you, the rain's still gonna be a little bothersome, but you're like pretty much covered, you're not gonna get as wet as you would have.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Listen, I'm excited for today's episode because I'm sitting with someone who I think is going to be the future of Generational Z, but also in the topic that she's talking about, the one and only Andelina is in the building. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Well, doing good. Excited to have you here. And I want to ask you this because you've chosen to go by your middle name, Storm, right, as part of your brand. Can you share the story behind that? And why is it so meaningful for your message today?
So first off, I've always viewed our mental struggles as a storm. I think like my anxiety and like depression and everything is just like the rain pouring outside. And I've always viewed God as kind of like the umbrella for that. If you have your umbrella, you're still going to get a little wet. It's still going to affect you. The rain's still going to be a little bothersome, but you're like pretty much covered. You're not going to get as wet as you would have if like you were just like outside with no umbrella. And it's really special to me because my parents actually have a fun story behind my middle name, and they were told not to like marry each other by like a fortune teller because they'd create a storm, and that's me. So as a woman, I like hope one day, God willing, my last name will change, but my middle name is something that I can always give back to my parents. So
I like that. You know, most importantly, I mean, it's a gift, right? Because it goes with pretty much everything and what you stand for. You're also a psychology student right now, currently at Michigan State, but you're also an author of Sanity in the Storm. So how do you balance like being like a student with building a platform as well as sharing this powerful message?
Lots of calendars and planners. I have like my physical planner, and then I have 3 different calendars on like my phone. One is just mine, and then one's like with a few other friends to like kind of coordinate all of our schedules and everything we all have going on to stay pretty organized. Lots of reminders in my phones and like alarms that go off telling me what to do and stuff like that. But I love the busyness of it all. It really helps me to like stay calm and take my day like one day at a time, like just one task at a time kind of thing.
And you're staying hella organized, by the way. So like
Yes.
what was the turning point? Like it had to be a turning point that made you realize that you needed to write Sanity in the Storm. What was that for you?
So last October-ish, so almost a year ago now, I was probably in the worst mental journey I'd ever been in. There was many nights I was just like laying on the floor. Like I was telling my friends and my family I didn't know how much longer I could do school. I could do like life in general. I was having a lot of like passive suicidal thoughts, which is basically you're having the same thoughts as someone that's suicidal, but you don't have like a plan to act on them or to necessarily like take the action to take your own life. But the thoughts are all still real. The feelings are all still really real. And I was in a pit. And one of my friends, he lost his battle to his mental health journey in October, so almost a year ago now. And after he passed away and I looked at my friend group and saw that we were all struggling pretty badly, it was like in my heart that I had to do something about it. Because if I have these passive thoughts, then why wouldn't I take action to make sure that no one else with passive thoughts makes them like active thoughts and decide to make that decision? So then my dad encouraged me to write because writing was always an outlet for me as a kid. And he told me that I should write a book to help other people. And that was kind of how it got started.
Yeah, first off, kudos to you, but also definitely feeling for your loss. You know, a lot of people deal with suicidal thoughts. They deal with a lot of these different things. And one thing I've never shared before is that my cousin also, you know, committed suicide. And one thing I learned from that is that it kind of hits you in the most craziest times in your life. And you think things are going well, and then it just, this one glimpse of everything shifts your complete way of thinking. You know, I remember being on a first class plane after meeting Rich Paul and popping champagne and just having a good time, and my phone kept ringing. And it's very rare that your phone can ring even on a flight or near a flight. And I knew it had to be some type of emergency. And it just takes me back as you're talking, just the emotional bandwidth you had to have at that moment. When you think about that moment of hearing that type of news and think about what your next steps were, take me back to your thought process.
Well, I would love to sit here and say that at first, as I'm sitting at the memorial and the vigil, that was my like immediate was thought was that like I need to do something about this. But in reality, it was a really hard pill to swallow. He was valedictorian. He was a part of every club. He was voted as most likely to succeed in school. So it was something that like was very like kind of like appalling to me. It was really hard for my friend group. And at first, I didn't think of the ways I could help or like what I should do in that moment. At first, I did just kind of let myself grieve it and question it. And I questioned God a lot. And I was like, why did this happen? Like, what does this mean? Because suicide doesn't feel like you don't really get comfort in that. It's not like, oh, well, God wanted to take them home or it's a part of God's plan because it was a choice he made. It was something he decided to do to take his own life. And it was like, why? Like, why did God kind of let that happen? But after wrestling with like these really hard questions, it dawned on me that the chemical imbalances in our brain, like it's like the devil. It's the enemy creeping in and trying to like ruin all the good things God's doing. And kind of like you were saying how like you were in the best moment, like you were on such a high and then like this happened to you. It's like when you're doing great, when you're close to your calling or you're close to God, that's when the devil like really wants to like prowl at your soul. And that's kind of what I think a lot about mental health because a lot of people come to me and be like, everything's great. Like I'm doing so well. Like, why is this happening? And it's because the devil knows that you're in a good place, that you're close to God, that your faith is strong, and he wants to ruin that. Like the devil's not going to go after something that's already his. And that's why when people are like, why does bad things happen to good people? Why would the devil try making life worse for the people that are already his kind of thing? So I definitely let myself sit there and grieve and feel all the pain and discomfort. And it definitely made my mental health way worse. Like I was seeing my therapist 3 times a week. I was like telling her like, I don't want to make the same decision he did, but I don't know how to get out of the way I'm feeling either. So then when my dad did encourage me to start writing and I did sit down and start writing, it was extremely therapeutic for me as well to like just sit down and write down how I was feeling. And the fact that maybe I could help one person made it all worth it for me because the way I'm feeling, I never want anyone to feel the way I'm feeling. And I know people feel what I'm feeling and more and in different ways, like stuff like that.
Yeah, excellent perspective. Like I gotta imagine that it shaped a lot for you. How did that experience shape your mission and the way that you show up for others today?
It shaped my mission because it showed me that so I met a lady, Brandy Vega. She's the founder of Promise to Live. And she told us that like, I think roughly around like over 100 people are affected by like one person taking their own life. And I didn't know that statistic at the time, but I was also looking around and seeing the community that was affected by this and the fact that their mental health was affected by this. So knowing that Vincent decided to make that decision and all of our friends were now thinking that was an okay decision to make, or at least some of them were thinking that, like that to me was something that was scary and was like a call to action, was like, I need to make sure people know that there is a solution to this and maybe you'll never get it in this lifetime, but you're going to get it eventually. And the closer we get to God and the better coping mechanisms we have through the Bible and through God's word, the easier it is to manage the things we're going through. The days I start my morning with Jesus, I'm in a way better mental state than the days I'm not. Kind of stuff like that. And I really love using scripture like to my advantage when I'm having these thoughts from the devil that I'm not enough or I'm not pretty enough or I'm not smart enough or that I'm all alone or that no one's going to care about me as deeply as I care about them. There's a verse in scripture that contradicts that, and the devil doesn't want you to know that. In Isaiah, we like know that God says, when you walk through rough waters, I'll be with you. He's with us every step of the journey, and maybe he doesn't want to take away exactly what you're going through right now because he has a greater purpose for it, but he's still there with you.
I like this conversation. You can tell faith is a central part of your story. How has faith continued to carry you through these storms? And there, like you mentioned, there's Bible verses that you lean on, and Isaiah being one of them. Are any other Bible verses you lean on when things get hard?
Yes. So actually, my favorite places to read when I am struggling is Psalms and Job, because in the Psalms, the authors of the Psalms, we know David is one of them. They're almost coming to God, like yelling at him for how they're feeling. And I think that's important because it's showing you that like God is with you through these journeys and he wants you to come to him, even if that's not like super happy or super thankful or super thoughtful. Like he still wants to hear from you. He wants to know that you're struggling. He wants to know that like you need a relationship with him. So I think the Psalms are very comforting because a lot of them are saying that how like deeply despaired they are and how hard life is and how it feels almost too much to bear. And in one of the Psalms, it's like Psalms 189, I think, something around there. It's saying, darkness is my closest friend. And that to me has always stuck with me because I read that verse shortly after my friend passed. And it's basically saying like, God, you've taken from me my closest friends. Like darkness is my closest friend. And I was like, this really resonates with me right now. Like my friends are gone. Like they feel far. When you're in that mental state of depression, like, and loneliness, you feel like you're all by yourself. It feels like all your friends are taken from you, all your resources are taken from you. So I thought that was really good to know that I could turn to God, and maybe I'm not the happiest with him, but he still wants to hear from me. He still loves me. He still wants that conversation with me. Another one is Job, because Job is like tested for his faith. At the beginning of it, you hear like the devil character and the God character go back and forth about like what they could take from Job, because they're saying that Job's faith will be taken away if he goes through too many trials. And you get to watch as Job gets stripped from all the amazing things in his life, and he still turns to God and believes in God. And that was another big thing for me because I've had anxiety and OCD since I was 9. My mental health has done nothing but get worse as I've grown older. But my faith has done nothing but grow stronger. And many people ask the question, like, why is that? Like, if you believe in God, why isn't he taking this away from you? But my faith in God has nothing to do with what my like earthly satisfaction looks like. It has nothing to do with what I do here or how I live or the pain I endure. It has everything to do with living each day for God and knowing that in the end, I get to go to heaven with him and I won't have any of this pain and suffering anymore.
Excellent perspective. I mean, mental health is a huge topic. Everyone knows that part. But what I think the opportunity lies is that not too many people are talking to Generational Z about some of the biggest struggles. So, like, what do you feel like some of the biggest struggles that you're seeing amongst your peers right now?
I think some of the biggest struggles is identity. I think everyone's kind of at a loss of who they're supposed to be because social media kind of paints this picture that everyone's supposed to fit into a specific box. But then if you do end up getting into that box, you're still not good enough in the eyes of the world. You're supposed to look a certain way, but oh, you look that way now, that's not it anymore. Now you have to look like this. Oh, you're acting like this, that's not it anymore. Now you have to start acting like this. People tell you to go to college, but then some kids are like, I'm not getting a degree that's going to help me at all. Like, I don't think college is meant for me. Or like, I think we're genuinely told so many things and none of it is helpful at all. And there's like a huge identity crisis because people think that social media is reality and how people are living on social media is exactly how things are going to end up or how they should be. And that's just kind of a lie. And no one knows what path they want to take or where they should go or who they even are anymore. No one has a strong foundation in whatever faith path they're on. They don't have a strong foundation in who they are. A lot of kids can't even look in the mirror because they're so appalled at how they look. They're so disgusted by themselves because people tell them that they don't look the way they're hypothetically supposed to. Like stuff like that. Like I think a lot of kids are in college that maybe like didn't need to be. A lot of kids didn't go to college that probably should have. A lot of kids are trying to find satisfaction to fill the void that we have through like alcohol and drugs and girls and guys and all these other things when we're all just kind of lost. Like, I think there's just a huge identity crisis. And from that, when there is an identity crisis, when you do have so much fear instilled in your everyday life, you're going to have anxiety, you're going to have depression, you're going to develop like OCD and be so obsessed with something and then have compulsions that follow. And you're just going to overall just kind of be lost.
You know, you talk about turning storms into strength, right? Someone that's dealing with that, they're dealing obviously with some type of storm. What does that actually look like in real life for someone going through anxiety, depression, or even just uncertainty?
Sometimes it's just getting out of bed. There's no scale of beating the storm you're going through. Like, I'm not like sitting here and telling you that you need to get up and like do this crazy thing to like change the storm you're in. Sometimes it is moment by moment. Sometimes all you have in that day is just to get out of bed and you're slowly beating that storm. It's definitely a process. There was plenty of times when all I had to give God was just like, help, I can't even get through this day. I was struggling in school, I was struggling in life. Like, I couldn't even keep my eyes like straight. I couldn't keep my head above water. But for me, a win, beating the storm of that day, was literally just getting out of bed, was still making myself go to the gym, was still making myself get movement in. Sometimes beating that storm is going for a walk outside. Maybe it's opening your Bible. Maybe it's showing up for class instead of skipping. Maybe it's studying for that exam. Or on a grander scale, after you start doing these little things to beat away at this storm, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's talking to someone, maybe it's seeking the help you need, maybe it's putting purpose where the pain is, which is what I'm doing. I know that I'm going to have these struggles. I don't think God's ever planning on taking them away from me. I think he's bearing through the pain I feel, and I'm able to help others through it. So I'm putting peace where the pain is for me. I want to go on and I want to help people and I want to talk about it and I want to write a book and I want people to reach out to me and know that like they're not alone, and that if they need help beating the storms, I'll help them beat the storms. But I don't think there's a grand scale and I don't think there's one answer. Maybe for someone it's like fixing that relationship that's tarnished, that's bruised. Maybe it's telling someone you love them that you haven't in a while. Maybe it's telling someone you're sorry. It's so hard for us to like look at someone and like admit we were wrong. But at the same time, do you know how much pain we hold on to not going to someone and just telling them we're sorry? We think about that. That guilt eats away at us.
100%. You're as a young voice in this space, how do you see like your age as an advantage in reaching and impacting your generation?
I genuinely think God did bless me with wanting to talk about this at such a young age, because I think kids my age will know that this is real, this is authentic. The kids that have ran into me on a day-to-day basis, like, they know, like, I'm not sitting here and lying. Like, they'll see me. They've watched my panic attacks. They've seen me look drained as I've gone to class. Like, they've heard me talk about how exhausted I am. And knowing that a kid your age that's had the same struggles with society that you have had the same social media you have had a similar path, like, feels this way, like, they know they're not alone. They know that I'm not just like an adult coming at them from a different generation I grew up in. Like, I'm one of them and I feel this way, so they're not alone. Like, I resonate with them in a way.
That's huge. A lot of people right now, you're trying to reach an audience, and that's the key. The key is how can you resonate, share a little bit about yourself so they see the human in you. And I think that's a huge way that you're connecting with so many people. What role do you believe community, whether it's campus, through faith groups or online, play in like helping people navigate their storms?
So in the Bible, God tells us to go out 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and tells us that like a sweet friendship refreshes the soul. God created us for community. Like, he created us to be with each other, to help each other, because he knew, like, as soon as the fall happened, like, and he knew before that, but he knew when the fall happened that we were going to need each other now more than ever, because the world is broken. And the devil wants us to think we can't reach out to anyone. The devil wants us to think that you're supposed to do it all by yourself, and that is such a lie. And I specifically want to tell, like, the men that are the younger boys, reach out to someone, talk to someone, have the community. You do not need to have this, like, it all figured out or do it by yourself. And people tell young boys that. They're like, no, like, your problems, like, you just have to bury that and wear it and be strong, because that's what being a man is. That's not what being a man is. A man is being able to be strong, but know that vulnerability is your strength. Jesus wept. Jesus cried. And if Jesus came here and cried, and he's the best example of a male we have, then why aren't we allowed to cry? Why aren't we allowed to feel the way we're feeling? So I think knowing that it is okay to be vulnerable, to be upset, to cry, to lean on someone, and that you're not a burden. You're not a burden to someone else, because someone else needs you just as much as you need them. So I think community is everything. I would not be off the bathroom floor for my birthday this year without my community if my best friend and my sister weren't pulling me up and telling me that I needed to stand up. Like, I I wouldn't be where I am today without my community, and that is a blessing from God that I have that. And for the people out there that don't have that, like, reach out. I'll be your community. I'll help you find connections on campus. If you're in college, a lot of college campuses have Bible groups or like small groups to get together. If you're not, I'm sure your church near you has like a youth group. Have friends, have community, and know that like God created you to be able to lean on each other, and you should not have to deal with anything by yourself.
Facts. You don't want to deal with anything by yourself. If you're someone listening right now, they're resonating with you, they're in the middle of their own storm. Perhaps you're watching this right now or listening, you're in the car, you're in the middle of your own storm right now. What's the first step that you'll encourage them to like really take forward to finding peace?
Surrender. I think that the first thing you need to do is surrender to God. Just have a moment with yourself, sit in silence, and really dissect what is bothering you right now, what you are going through, what you need help with, because the first step in doing anything is acknowledging that something is wrong, that you do need help, that you do need community, that you could be better maybe. Like maybe there's not this huge problem, but you're like, I'm kind of sad and maybe I shouldn't be so sad. It's just acknowledging what's going on with you. Like have a moment with yourself, just reflect.
Oh, man, that's good. You know, there's someone listening right now. I want to ask you this question because we've asked everybody, guys, that's been watching this show. We've asked everyone that's ever been on this platform the question of the podcast. Perhaps, you know, they're getting ready to graduate, or perhaps they didn't get a degree at all. And you're asking yourself the question of the show, school's over, now what? What advice would Andelina Storm give?
To someone that, like, school's over?
Yeah.
I would give you that God's not done with you. That just because this chapter of your life is over doesn't mean that your life is, that there's so many exciting things coming for you. There's so much good God wants to do in your life, and that don't ever put a period where God's putting a comma.
Never limit yourself, guys. I know right now you're probably going through the show notes. You're probably already following Andelina. Want to make sure you're doing that. But right now you might be driving. You need us to give the info. For those that have been listening, wanting to know more about you, what you got coming out, how do we stay in touch?
So you can go to my Instagram. It's Andelina, ANDELINA.storm. And that's the same username for all my social media platforms. So you can also check me out on LinkedIn and TikTok.
And the book's coming out. The book's out.
Yes. So you can pre-order the book right now in my bio on Instagram. And it's dropping very, very soon. I'm super excited. And the book is called Sanity in the Storm.
Guys, make sure you cop Sanity in the Storm. And for those of you that have been listening, I want you to always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. We'll see you next week. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.